Initial meetings of a Student First Club.
So the very first time they meet us, it's a sales pitch. This is what we offer. This is what it's going to look like, and you got to get them pumped up, excited, and they vote on it. The very next meeting, it's to get to know them. And I have a little card, so 2 things nobody knows about me, and I'll go over all the offices and what office I think I'd be good at and why. So there's little check boxes, and again, at that meeting you'll review what each of the offices are and some of the requirements, and then they'll check one off. And now you have ammunition for future meetings, and so it's a great way, and you keep them throughout the year. Gather your list of volunteers. Like, for instance, who would like to practice running a meeting? Because you don't obviously do the elections right away. It takes a little time. So you get a list, maybe 4 or 5. I think we had 10 at Shadle, didn't we? So we had 10 people that wanted. So each week we go in, they came up and they would go through the agenda, call the meeting to order, introductions. And the introductions are more for me than them because it takes me a while to figure out their names. So now that you've gone through the concepts of how groups run, you got the volunteers, now every meeting they get to practice. And plus it gets the rest of the club a chance to see who they think is going to be the best leaders. This is the difference between a club and a class. A class, we would just go in there and teach them, blah, 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 you're going to do this, blah, 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 you're going to do this. A club, they're leading it, and then they let us know when it's our time to do the program. That becomes their club. So, club ground rules. So, why do you need rules?
Chaos.
Chaos, so you can break them?
Don't break it.
All right, keep order. And guess who makes the rules?
The president.
No? The club makes the rules. And we when we explain the rules to them, we call the school the country, because you got to live by the country's rules. Because they can't make a rule that goes against the school policy, so they can make rules as long as it is appropriate within the country. Does that make sense? So, and they make their own. Some rules: no cell phones, no foods. Can have food. We have some clubs, when we were doing breakfast time, they were allowed to have breakfast. It bugged my staff to no extent. They're sitting there eating. Yeah, but
I was fine with it because I was like,
You talk about.
right. But again, it was their rules, and so that was allowed because that was their breakfast time. Who had a hand up? I saw a hand.
There's other rules like raise your hand to speak or be respectful to the leaders of the club that are like the president and all that stuff like that.
Right. It gives students ownership when they think that they make that. Wow, I'm making the rules to my club. That is the first time they've owned anything in that classroom. Wow, I made the rules, and they can change the rules at any time. Rules are made to be modified as needed, anytime, and they've done it. Hey, that rule's not working for us anymore. Can we change it? I go, change it. So that they, just like anything. Yeah, I motion we change it. I second, and the president will take it to a vote. And so the rules can be changed. Rules represent the club and members of the school. And now, my friend Larry, over here, one of our clubs, we really were having struggles. It was a highly behavioral class, and there were consequences. And so the consequences would be going up to another classroom where the teacher would give them a stack of paperwork to do. So nobody wanted to go there, and that was called the brig or walking the plank. And so they made the rules based on that. Go ahead, Larry. And so here are their rules. And they were the Rogers Pirates. So hence why you have this.
Excuse me, I, Mickey, shall raise both hands, or the brig ye will go. Ye mateys speak one at a time, or ye plink ye shall go. Ye mateys best respect all mateys, to avoid devised days laughter. Rules shall ye matters follow, or ye plank walk ye.
Right, and the plank, and that they made these rules. And so the plank was going up to this teacher's room and having to do paperwork. That particular lesson takes the whole period because you're getting, they're filling out the card, you're going over the rules, and now you have that little stack of papers, what everybody wants to be. So the second meeting is about getting to know each other. And guess what we're going to do? We're going to get to know each other. So we're going to actually do this exercise. So I'm going to give you a couple of cheat rules here. So this is the very first time, because this is now your second time at a new club, and this is the very, very first time that students are going to be asked to come up front and talk. And so obviously you're going to want to get volunteers first. If you can get a few people to volunteer.
Honestly, could I do mine?
Look at that, we already got a volunteer first.
Hey, my name is Gail Fichette, also from Coeur d'Alene. And the one thing I want to change is stop fighting with my brother. In the age group I want to work as well with 18 and plus.
I'm Katie Haggerty from the Tri-Cities, Washington. If I could change one thing in the world, it would be to have more respect for the disabled.
The one thing that changed about the world is acceptance of people with disabilities worldwide.
I'm Noah, and I live in Olympia, Washington. I heard about Student First from my colleagues and friends. If I can change one thing in the world, it would be people to seen as equals. Tools I use when I'm frustrated, I take some deep breaths, or I'll zone out for a little bit and like check something on my phone and then get back engaged.
If I could change one thing in the world, it would be more understanding. Maybe that we could even just all understand that we'll never know what it's like to live a life other than our own.
My name is Mija. I'm from Chehalis. I learned about Student First from Donna and actually the People First conference here last year, where the students got up and did a presentation. And then at the dance that they had, it was just amazing to see all these young people dancing and having a great time. So it really encouraged me. Things you need to know about me: I laugh when I get nervous, which is not very helpful sometimes. I get hangry, so if I get hungry, I get angry. And then don't ever use the R word around me, because I will correct you. Tools I use when I get upset or frustrated: I stop and think about what the outcome I need is versus what I want right now.
So do you guys see how that gets people connected? Your second day in the class. And if you look in your handout, it's a lot. The questions for students are different, but it gets them connected. And you see how that got anyone feel nervous to come up here and talk? Only one, two, three, four. So getting them come up talk, you'd be surprised within a few times how much confidence that builds in people. And if you can get up and talk in front of your classroom, you can certainly talk in front of an employer. You can certainly talk one-on-one to a residential provider. And so if you can conquer a crowd, you can conquer one-on-one, piece of cake. At that point, we start getting volunteers to practice running the meeting, going through the agenda. I call the meeting to order. Minutes of last meeting, old business, new business, and then that way they get a chance to explore. It usually takes a couple months of exploring that, and then you do elections. The election process should be a fun process. People will nominate. Here's kind of how it works. Say, I nominate George to be our president. Somebody will second it. He's now going to be an official nominee. Doesn't mean we're doing elections today, but he's now nominated for president. And one of my theories is that in a classroom, to have everybody run for an office. Everybody. It don't always work that way, but that's in my mindset. Everybody's going to run for an office because that's what leadership's all about, trying to run for an office. So we have them do campaign posters. Because remember, if they're part of the ASB, then they post them in the hallways and so forth. And they get to come up and talk about their campaign posters. They have campaign tools, and they have a lot. That's a whole class having them do a campaign poster. Vote. I can't think. And they're so much more clever than I am. Vote for me. And then they'll make it rhyme. Okay. So they'll make it rhyme. They do incredible campaign posters, incredible art. They post them through the hallways. We go take pictures of it. They do a great campaign speech. You know, some students, you can tell who put a lot of effort into their campaign speech. All the candidates will give their speech because otherwise they're voting for their friends, right? You know, they'll pre-select. So they wait until the speeches are done. And we emphasize, vote for the person who you think is going to represent your club the best and make the best officer, not vote for your best friend. We really try to emphasize that. I'm sure some people vote for their best friends, but we try to emphasize. So they do one office at a time. They listen to all the speeches. They make their vote. They close their ballot. Then the next office will come up. And in this case, it was the Sergeant at Arms. So we had 3 people. All 3 people would give their speeches. Then after they were done, they would open it up. Because you have a better chance of them voting for who they think's best if everybody gets a chance to use their voice. Then when the ballots are closed, they close it. And then when we do the retaliation, I always have a teacher with me, you know, looking over my shoulder, and we do it together. That way they don't think there's any monkey business, right? We do our elections normally in December, but next year I'm going to do it in November. Guess why I'm doing it in November?
It's voting time.
It's voting time, and you know, and I want them to really feel that this election. And how many people did a caucus? Did any caucuses? This is better than the caucuses, huh? So yeah, go ahead and pass them around so that everybody can see them. But yeah, you want to make the election process special, because it is special. You're electing your club's first board of directors.
Coming up next, lesson planning and student engagement. If you would like more information about Student First and starting a club, contact Donna Larry at pfow@clarkston.com. EPIC is a grant of national significance. It stands for Equal Partners Interstate Congress. And if you're interested in more information about leadership and self-advocacy, contact EPIC. You can contact Noah, Noah, @arcwa.org.